a cultural hero or a role model or anything like that. You know, I don't want it to be the absolute last word in what the trendy style is.
I never thought that I made, you know, the most important stamp on pop music or anything like that. But what I did that was different from other people, I think, was that I sang a very diverse range of music.
Los Angeles, 1979. The hallways of the Troubadour Club fill with excitement. Guitar sounds echo during soundcheck. Music stars mingle backstage. Then chaos breaks out. A scared assistant runs into the office, face pale and hands shaking. Linda Ronstadt just walked out. Why? She saw one name on the night's lineup and left without saying a word. No drama, no shouting, just an icy exit that left everyone wondering what really happened. For years, Linda kept a perfect public image. No angry outbursts in front of cameras. No bitter interviews in magazines. Just grace under pressure that made her seem untouchable. But behind that calm face were 7 deep betrayals she kept secret. Until now. 7 wounds that shaped her career in ways no one ever knew. These aren't small fights over tour buses or dressing rooms. These are stories that changed music history forever. Power struggles, backstabbing, and quiet revenge from people Linda once trusted with her art and her friendship. The most shocking part? Some were once her closest friends, the very people who stood beside her during her climb to the top. The first betrayal might sound familiar, but the truth will surprise you. A drummer who owed his whole career to Linda before he threw her aside for something bigger. Someone who forgot where he came from once the spotlight shifted. Number 1. Don Henley. Before the Eagles became famous, Don Henley was just Linda Ronstadt's backup drummer. He was thankful for any attention she gave him, any wisdom she shared about the music business. In the early 1970s, Linda filled theaters coast to coast, while Henley sat behind his drums, soaking up her fame and learning the ropes of stardom. She didn't just give him a job when he needed one. She handed him his future on a silver platter. Then everything changed almost overnight. As Eagles albums became hits and their tour buses got bigger, Henley's humble attitude disappeared faster than concert tickets on sale day. The once grateful drummer now walked through Sunset Boulevard like he owned the entire street. He started looking down on the woman who launched his career, treating her like yesterday's news while he became the headline. Things broke apart in 1975 at Universal Amphitheater during what should have been a friendly backstage reunion. Henley said something about Linda's music that crossed every line. He made fun of her song choices to her face and told her to leave real songwriting to real artists like himself. His words hurt deeply, dismissing years of her hard work with one careless comment. Linda didn't make a scene in front of the other musicians and crew. She simply told security to take away his backstage pass. Right away. Forever. No second chances or long goodbyes. Just a clean cut that spoke louder than any argument could have. People in the music business whispered about Henley's bad attitude when he used substances, how success had changed him from a hungry artist to an entitled star. What hurt Linda most wasn't just betrayal from someone she had helped. It was the complete disrespect of her talent and vision. In private, she called him a climber who lost his soul chasing fame and magazine covers. While Henley's betrayal stung like a bad review, the next musician crossed an even bigger line with actions, not just words. Number 2. Jim Morrison. Summer, 1968. The Doors were on fire at every show, breaking attendance records and making headlines. Linda Ronstadt was fighting for respect in a man's world, proving night after night that a woman could rock just as hard as any male frontman. At a private party near the Whiskey A Go-Go Club, rock stars and rebels mixed together in a cloud of cigarette smoke and ambition. The room buzzed with talent until Jim Morrison spotted Linda across the crowded space. The mood shifted instantly. Already drunk before midnight, shirt half open and eyes unfocused, Morrison pushed through the crowd like a ship breaking through waves. Without asking or even speaking first, he pulled Linda on stage during her small performance for friends. It wasn't fun or playful, it wasn't planned or professional. It was pure selfishness from a man who thought his fame gave him the right to do whatever he wanted. Then he tried to kiss her, in front of everyone watching, without warning or permission. Linda pulled back right away, face flushed with surprise and anger. Morrison lost his balance from the rejection, fell into her microphone stand and almost brought everything crashing down around them. The room went quiet as everyone stared, unsure whether to step in or look away from the train wreck happening on stage. No one took pictures in those days before cell phones, but the story became instant legend, whispered backstage for years whenever his name came up. Morrison never said sorry for crossing that line. Instead, months later on radio, he made fun of her talent, calling her sweet but weak and ultimately forgettable. Harsh, cutting words from one of rock's most famous singers who should have known the power his words carried. Linda stayed quiet in public about the incident, never feeding the gossip machine. To her close friends behind closed doors, she called Morrison a brilliant wreck who ruined everything around him with his selfishness. To her, he stood for everything wrong with the music business she was trying to change. The male egos, the bad behavior excused as artistic temperament, the disrespect toward women artists. While Morrison's betrayal came as a drunken surprise attack, the next one cut deeper because it came from someone fighting for the same cause. Number 3. Neil Young. The year was 1976. A benefit concert to help farm workers brought together rock's biggest names for a day of music and meaning. Linda Ronstadt and Neil Young seemed like perfect allies on stage and off. Both were known for their distinctive voices and their deep beliefs in social justice. But backstage, behind the peace signs and unity talk, things got tense when Young started rejecting Linda's song ideas one by one. He wouldn't let her perform certain meaningful songs she had prepared. He claimed her sound was too commercial, too polished, for a protest event that needed grit and authenticity. After the show ended and the crowds went home, he told reporters something that traveled through the music world like wildfire. He said she wasn't right for protest music, that her voice might be pretty but it lacked the necessary conviction. He made it sound like she wasn't real enough for the cause they both claimed to care about. She left the venue with tears in her eyes, hurt not by a critic who didn't matter, but by a fellow fighter who should have stood beside her. The pain cut deeper than any bad album review ever could. Being called fake by someone fighting for the same values broke something important between them that could never be fixed. From that night on, no matter how good the cause or how big the benefit concert, Linda never shared a stage with Neil Young again, not once in all the years that followed. To her friends during late-night talks, she described him as someone who talked loudly about good causes in public, but treated people cruelly behind the scenes when cameras weren't rolling. The gap between his public image and private behavior became too wide for her to ignore or forgive. Yet while Young's betrayal hurt her personally as an activist, the next musician's coldness damaged her as an artist in front of witnesses. He took away her confidence with just one mean comment in front of a room full of session musicians. Number 4. Frank Zappa. Their 1974 meeting created buzz throughout Los Angeles. Frank Zappa, the weird genius of experimental rock who never followed rules, and Linda Ronstadt, the amazing singer who could master any style, from country to rock to folk. Working together promised something special that would push boundaries and create new sounds. Instead, it burned bridges that could never be rebuilt. Linda wanted to record one of Zappa's complex, challenging songs to stretch herself as an artist. But from their first studio day, surrounded by expensive equipment and high expectations, Zappa dismissed her ideas with smirks and eye rolls that made everyone uncomfortable. He said her sound was too clean, too mainstream, and accused her of trying to turn serious art into simple radio songs. Everything fell apart during the third practice, when tension had been building hour by hour. In the middle of a song that was finally coming together, Zappa suddenly waved his hands and told the band to stop playing. The room went quiet as everyone froze, instruments still in hand. Then, in front of everyone, from guitar players to sound engineers, he said something so cutting about pop singers trying to do real music that several people looked at the floor. No one moved or spoke for several long seconds. Linda didn't yell or throw things like some stars might have. She didn't argue or defend herself against the attack. She quietly packed up her lyric sheets and purse, walked out with her head held high, and never stepped foot in that studio again. She never worked with Zappa again either, turning down future chances to collaborate without explanation. In public interviews afterward, she said nothing about what happened that day. But to her close friends during late-night phone calls, she described Zappa as brilliant, but deliberately mean, A mind she respected, attached to a person she could never trust with her voice or her vulnerability as an artist. Hard times with difficult artistic geniuses were bad enough in the competitive music world. But the next betrayal cut deeper because it came from someone she once thought of as family. Number 5. David Crosby. In the sunny creative days of Laurel Canyon when music history was being made on every porch, Linda Ronstadt and David Crosby were like musical family members who could finish each other's sentences and harmonies. More than just working together on tracks, they shared a deep trust built in the cultural movement they both helped create and shape. Crosby's famous harmonies and Linda's soaring voice were part of the same musical revolution that changed what American music could be. Their bond seemed unbreakable after late nights talking about changing the world through songs and standing up for what mattered. By 1978, that harmony had shattered into painful silence. During a recording session for a song they both cared about, Linda asked for a simple key change to fit her voice better after struggling with a difficult passage. It was a standard request that any singer might make. Crosby refused with unexpected rudeness, telling her she should learn to adapt to the music instead of making the music adapt to her. What started as a small disagreement about half a musical step quickly grew into a heated argument about respect and partnership that somehow leaked beyond the studio wall. Within days, their fight became big gossip in music circles from New York to Nashville. Everyone had an opinion about who was right, but Crosby made the private fight much worse by talking to Rolling Stone magazine, the music Bible that everyone in the industry read cover to cover. He called Linda manufactured and commercial, making it sound like she was a product created by record executives, not a real artist with vision and talent. For someone who built her whole career on raw vocal ability and staying true to herself while others followed trends, this public insult felt like a knife to the heart from someone who should have known better. Linda didn't respond in interviews or fight back in the press. Instead, she made a quiet but powerful move that showed how deeply the cut had gone. She banned anyone from saying his name around her band and friends. Studio musicians were told never to mention him or his music. His songs disappeared from her tour playlist like they had never existed. It was like he vanished from her world completely, without a goodbye. To Linda, Crosby had betrayed not just a friendship, but everything Laurel Canyon stood for: artistic honesty, mutual support, and music that came from the heart rather than the wallet. Privately, she called him a warning sign that even the brightest creative minds can be ruined by ego and industry praise if they're not careful to stay grounded. While Crosby's betrayal hurt because of their shared history and values, the next attack came as a cold public ambush from a newcomer who seemed to target her simply to make a name for himself. Number 6. Elvis Costello. Cleveland, 1979, during a summer heat wave. A big festival brought together famous established artists and hungry new faces fighting for attention. Linda Ronstadt, with several hit albums and sold-out tours, was the main act that everyone had come to see. Watching from the side of the stage with critical eyes was Elvis Costello, punk rock's smart rebel, the new kid with sharp lyrics and thick glasses who had something to prove. What happened next shocked everyone backstage and rippled through the music press for months afterward. In front of a circle of important music writers holding notepads, Costello made fun of Linda's just-finished performance. He said it was just background music for boring suburban people who didn't understand real rock and roll. The comment spread quickly through the festival grounds like wildfire, reaching Linda before she could even leave her dressing room. When Linda confronted him backstage near the catering area, hoping for an explanation or maybe an apology between artists, she got something else entirely. Costello, visibly drunk and proud of the attention he was getting, looked at her, said something even meaner about female artists, and walked away without any sign of regret or professional courtesy. Linda never looked back or tried to make peace in the years that followed. To her, Elvis Costello wasn't just one rude person having a bad day. He represented a new kind of artist entering the scene, smart but heartless, critical without care for the human beings behind the music. Not rebellious in any way that mattered, just mean for the sake of being mean and getting his name in print. She saw nothing real or important behind his attitude, only selfishness and ambition without substance. Yet, even that bitterness couldn't match the final heartbreak on her list of unforgivable betrayals. The last one came from someone whose musical style and artistic approach should have worked perfectly with hers on paper. Number 7. Paul Simon. 1982 seemed perfect timing for a dream team up that fans had been waiting for. Paul Simon, one of the most respected songwriters around with poetic lyrics and folk roots, and Linda Ronstadt, the queen of crossing music styles with that powerful, emotional voice. When she agreed to sing with him for his new album after months of scheduling conflicts, fans and music industry people got excited about what they might create together. On paper, it looked like a perfect match of complementary talents. In reality, from the first day, it turned into a slow nightmare that made Linda question everything about the collaboration process. From the first practice in an expensive New York studio, bad feelings grew by the hour. Simon picked apart her singing approach with cold precision, stopping recordings to fix things that no one else could hear problems with. He changed lyrics without asking for her input and gave singing advice that felt more like criticism than help, treating her like a beginner instead of an established star with her own style and approach. People close to Linda, who were there for some sessions, say she later described it like being scolded by a strict teacher who had already decided you weren't good enough. Every note she sang got analyzed and picked apart, never supported or appreciated for what it was. The chemistry that everyone expected never happened between them. Any creative spark that might have existed died under the weight of control issues and talking down to someone who deserved respect. Eventually, after weeks of tense sessions, the song was shelved, unfinished, and unreleased for years afterward. But for Linda, the damage wasn't about one song that never made it to the radio. It was about being treated as less than equal by someone whose work she had respected from a distance. A voice like hers, a career like hers with all its success and artistic growth, deserved true partnership and creative give and take. Instead, she got dictatorship and rigid control that left no room for her artistic identity. After that final recording session, when she turned in her headphones and walked out, she promised herself she would never work with Paul Simon again under any circumstances. It was a promise she kept for the rest of her career without regret or second thoughts. You must be asking the question, why she speaks now? 7 famous musicians. 7 painful betrayals that shaped a career, all hidden behind years of professionalism and privacy. Until now, when Linda finally decided the truth mattered more than keeping up appearances. Linda Ronstadt never fed the gossip machine during her decades at the top. For over 40 years, she let her music speak for itself, while keeping these painful stories locked away from public view. These revelations coming to light now aren't about revenge or settling old scores when it's too late for some to defend themselves. They're about truth and the real history of rock and roll, about showing the world that behind every perfect song we all know by heart, there's often conflict and struggle no one hears until someone brave finally speaks up. She built her legendary status not just on singing talent that could fill arenas, but on surviving the egos, betrayals, and meanness of an industry designed to break artists like her who didn't play by the old rules. By sharing these stories now, at this point in her life, she isn't putting others down to lift herself up. She's showing what real strength looks like over a long career with ups and downs that tested her in ways fans never knew about until now. Because sometimes the biggest power isn't found in the highest notes we can hit or the songs everyone remembers us for. It's in the secrets we keep until the moment is right to finally share them with the world that's ready to understand what really happened behind the music. Which of these shocking stories from rock history surprised you most? The drummer who forgot who gave him his big break? The drunk rock star who went too far? Or maybe the perfectionist who couldn't collaborate as an equal? Do you think Linda was right to keep these stories hidden all these years, or should she have spoken out sooner? Tell us what you think in the comments below. We love hearing your thoughts on these untold music stories. If you enjoyed learning the truth behind Linda Ronstadt's career, hit that like button to let us know. And make sure you subscribe to our channel for more shocking revelations about your favorite music legends every week. Hit the notification bell so you never miss the real stories behind the songs you love. Until next time, keep rocking, and remember, behind every famous song is a story most fans never hear.